Here, on this vision of our planet, the year is 2025. Yet, in many ways, it feels like a time long past. The great tides of history, which on our own world led to the birth of new nations, never reached these shores. The vast empires of the 19th and 20th centuries did not crumble. They simply adapted. The British Empire still stretches across continents, a familiar sight from the Caribbean to the Indian subcontinent. French is spoken as the language of administration across vast territories in Africa and Southeast Asia. This is a world where the lines drawn on maps by colonial powers were never erased. They were etched deeper, becoming permanent fixtures, a vast and intricate network of control. Imagine standing in the bustling streets of Delhi or Lagos. Grand Victorian structures stand not as relics, but as active centers of power, housing the imperial administrators who govern these lands. In this alternate 2025, the rhythm of daily life is dictated by two distinct clocks. One is the local time, governed by the rising and setting of the sun. The other, far more powerful, is the time of the imperial capital. A government clerk in Nairobi begins his day not with local news, but with directives from London. His education, his career prospects, the laws he abides by were all designed thousands of miles away. The curriculum in his children's school celebrates the history of the British Isles, a classroom in a modern African city where students in uniform are looking at a holographic projection of the Eiffel Tower with French text underneath, with local history relegated to curious side chapter. It is a life lived in the shadow of a culture that is not one's own, a constant, subtle pressure to conform. While indigenous languages persist in homes and villages, the path to advancement is paved with the tongue of the colonizer. English, French, Dutch are the languages of the courts, the universities, and the best-paying jobs. The global economy in this world operates as a colossal centralized machine. The colonies, or overseas territories as they are now called, function as the engine's vital components, but not as its drivers. Their primary role remains what it was centuries ago: to provide raw materials, the immense mineral wealth of the Congo, the rubber from Southeast Asia, and the agricultural bounty of India. These resources flow in a steady stream towards the industrial heartlands of Europe. In return, the territories serve as captive markets for finished goods, from automobiles to electronics produced in the factories of the metropole. This creates a permanent state of economic dependency, stifling the development of local industries. Our political structures are a facade of partnership masking a reality of absolute control. Local councils and regional assemblies may exist, giving the appearance of self-governance. However, their power is strictly limited. The true authority rests with a governor general or high commissioner, an appointee of the distant imperial government. This individual holds veto power over any local legislation and commands the police and military forces. Major decisions regarding foreign policy, defense, and large-scale economic planning are made not in New Delhi or Dakar, but in London or Paris. The people may have a voice, but it is one that can be silenced at any time. One could argue that this world, in some respects, is more stable. The great imperial blocs, wary of mutually assured destruction, might prevent smaller regional wars. A common legal and administrative framework across vast swathes of the globe could, in theory, streamline trade, streamline travel within an imperial zone, British African territories, British Australasia. A citizen might find it easy to work or study, all under the same overarching system. This enforced unity could create a kind of large-scale peace. Pax Britannica, Pax Gallica. Internal rebellions are suppressed. External borders are heavily fortified. Furthermore, investment in infrastructure, though self-serving, would be immense. To efficiently extract resources and to move troops, extensive networks of railways, ports, communication grids. These systems would form the backbone of the territory's economies. Public health systems, education systems designed to create a compliant and productive workforce. It is a peace and order bought at a high price, a gilded cage with modern amenities. To understand this alternate reality, we must look to the turning points in our own history where the path diverged. Consider the Indian independence movement, the sustained non-violent resistance led by Mahatma Gandhi, combined with the economic strain of World War II on Britain, made colonial rule untenable. But imagine if a more ruthless imperial policy had been enacted. Imagine if the leadership of the movement had been permanently exiled or eliminated in its infancy. Without its unifying figures and moral force, the movement might have fractured into smaller, less effective rebellions, easily crushed by the might of the British Raj, which would then have consolidated its power for another century. Let us turn our gaze to Africa in the 1960s, the year of Africa, when so many nations gained their freedom. This wave of independence was fueled by a post-war global consensus against colonialism, championed by the United States and the Soviet Union. In our alternate timeline, this consensus never forms. Without external pressure and support, the nascent liberation movements across Africa would face the full, undivided military and economic power of their colonial rulers. The fight would be longer, bloodier, and ultimately, perhaps, unsuccessful. As we draw back from this unsettling vision of a world that never broke its chains, the lesson becomes profoundly clear. The story of our planet is not merely a story of resources, economies, political systems. It is, at its core, the story of the human spirit. This spirit has an innate, unquenchable thirst for dignity, a voice, the freedom to shape its own destiny. To deny a people independence is to deny them the ability to fully express their humanity. It is to place a permanent ceiling on their aspirations and to declare that their culture, their ideas, their dreams are of lesser value. The perceived stability of the imperial world is an illusion. It is the stillness of a stagnant pond, not the vibrant equilibrium of Aigwe, a living ecosystem. True progress is born from diversity, collision, and fusion of different ideas, competition of nations striving to achieve their own unique vision of a better future. The struggles for independence, though often violent and tumultuous, unleashed a torrent of human energy and creativity that has enriched our entire world. Each new flag, each new national anthem represented another voice joining the global conversation, another set of solutions being brought to our shared problems. That simple, powerful choice is the most precious resource on our planet and the foundation upon which any truly global community must be built.